What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Canadian Football Fanatics. Thank you guys for tuning in to offseason primer number 5. Moving over to the East Division tonight, talking a little Montreal Alouettes with Cliffy Pine. He'll be joining us here in a few moments, but I just want to thank everybody for tuning in once again. I guess this will be the off-season's version of Friday Night Football. Or I guess actually by the time this is out, this won't be Friday. So whenever you guys are listening to this, for the three of us recording tonight, this will be a little Friday football for us three. So excited to talk. Blake and I have been doing this off-season primer, talking with the Western Division teams. Now we make our way out east and talk some Eastern Division, especially specifically Montreal Alouettes. So I know usually we introduce Cliffy as I guess maybe we can do former reigning, defending, undisputed Grey Cup champions when we do introduce him. But first, as always, I'm joined by my main man, Blake. Blake, thanks for joining us, buddy. How you doing?
Yeah, doing good, Cole. Yeah, as you said, it's Friday night here as we record live on the way to the home opener for the Vancouver Warriors lacrosse team. There's always something going on here in the mainland, as I know that you're well aware of.
Yes, the big city over the pond. But I appreciate you joining me, buddy. I hope you enjoy your time there downtown Vancouver and a little lacrosse action with the family tonight. Let's bring in our guest of the hour and talk some Montreal Alouettes with one Cliffy Pine. Cliffy, thanks for joining us tonight. How you doing?
As always, appreciate you guys having me. Doing pretty good for Friday evening. So, as always, I'm always excited to talk about Montreal Alouettes football. So, again, thank you again for having me, and I'm excited. Let's get this going.
Let's get it going indeed. When we had Andrew on to talk some Edmonton Elks, obviously friend of all of ours, I had to start with, obviously, how did you enjoy your time out west, and how did you enjoy Grey Cup 111?
Well, it'd been my first time in Vancouver in a long, long time, so it was getting to see the city again for the first time, and I got to tell you, Vancouver is absolutely beautiful. Everybody keeps talking about how beautiful Vancouver is and how it's such a great city and everything, and it's true, folks. It definitely is. If you haven't been to Vancouver, you owe it to yourself to go and be a part of it. I mean, not just with Grey Cup week, but just the city itself is nothing short of fantastic. So I highly, highly recommend it. And being out there for Grey Cup was always a blast. Would have been nice if the Montreal Alouettes had been able to join me, but it is what it is. I mean, we still had a great time no matter what. So that's the thing with Grey Cup is, regardless of where it's being held, being able to interact with so many fans throughout the entire country, everybody comes and congregates for Grey Cup, and it almost doesn't matter what city it's going to be in. It's going to be a good time no matter what, regardless of the teams that are in the game itself. It's going to be a good time no matter what. So I mean, I will say the BC Lions, the city of Vancouver, Amar Doma, everybody put on a fantastic Grey Cup experience, and I wouldn't be mad if it was held once every 3 years out in Vancouver. That's just how great it was to be able to go out there and experience Grey Cup in BC.
I know I speak for both Blake and I that I wish the Lions were there playing as well in the big game. But Cliffy, let's get into some Montreal Alouettes. Let's rewind a little bit and kind of go back to the end of the season. Obviously ended disappointing for you guys, as I mentioned there a few minutes ago. Formerly reigning, defending, undisputed champion Montreal Alouettes. Just your quick thoughts of kind of how the season went and how the season ended. Obviously, the win streak there during the season of 13, 14 games going back to last year. To start the season, it really looked like Montreal was kind of running away with things. They were clearly the top of the top team in the CFL, excuse me, and I feel like maybe after they clinched there in week 16, kind of things maybe started to trend downwards, and then obviously in the playoffs they aren't able to win at home. But what are just your thoughts overall, just how the season ended and how the season went, I guess?
You pretty much recapped it right there. I mean, it was great to see Montreal start off as hot as what they did, because I think a lot of people may have felt perhaps they were just lucky to have won that Grey Cup, and I think starting off hot like they did prove that no, they were not lucky, that it wasn't just a good day at the office last November. It was simply the fact that this team was built to be a winner, and that's exactly what they were. And they just kept going. Even though they had some injury issues here and there, they just kept winning. They kept things going, and you got to see the emergence of Davis Alexander when Cody Fajardo went down to injury. In came Davis Alexander, played absolutely outstanding football, just as we here at the flight deck said he was going to, because we've seen this kid from day one, his very first training camp, and we knew there was something special there. It was just simply a matter of when was he going to get in and show a case what he was able to do. And sure enough, he came in relief of that game versus Saskatchewan at home and just blew the doors off of everybody and just kept on playing and kept on winning and was just building great. And it just kept going. Like, it really looked like, this was definitely going to be the premier team in the Canadian Football League. Once Cody Fajardo came back, I mean, the Alouettes still kept winning, but as soon as Labor Day hit, and it's funny, people always talk about how Labor Day is like the season doesn't start until Labor Day, and kind of felt like the Alouettes didn't quite get the memo that the season starts after Labor Day. If that's true, if that's truly how it is in the Canadian Football League, the Alouettes didn't quite get that point, because with all those wins and all that goodwill they had built up, it kind of felt like once they clinched the Eastern Division, they just took their foot off the pedal just a little bit, and all of a sudden losses starting to pile up, and they're still thinking to themselves, well, we're still in good shape, we're going to be okay, come playoff time, we're going to turn it on. And that's the funny thing with momentum, is good or bad, once you have it, it's kind of hard to get rid. Like, once it happens, you can't get rid of it. So I think that was kind of the thought, was we're just going to coast into the playoffs as healthy as we can and hope for the best. And ultimately, yes, they ended up playing the Eastern Final, but as you saw that day, it was not the Alouettes' best day, and ultimately they did not go to the Grey Cup because they didn't win when they absolutely positively needed to, and that's tough. It's a bitter pill to swallow for Alouettes fans, for the team itself, and I'm sure they looked at that Grey Cup game and thought, just like every other team in the Canadian Football League, said, you know what? If I was there, I could have won that game against Winnipeg. But ultimately, Toronto goes in, does what they have to do, and made it look easy, quite frankly. So hats off to them for being able to do that. But now the Montreal Alouettes, I think now they realized the opportunity they had and they lost. And I see them going into 2025 refocused, just a little bit bitter and angry about that. And they're just going to do everything they can to prove that they can get back into that game and be that dominant team that they say they are.
Yeah, there's no second guessing how I would probably even go as far to say dominant the Montreal Alouettes have been over the last few years here. If people don't remember, only the 30-28 defeat, lost by 2 points, a few plays go Montreal Alouettes' way, they win that game, they're in another Grey Cup once again, and who knows what could happen. So I'm interested to see and maybe talk through some of the decisions that I'm sure they're going to have to make. And they started with said decision. You brought them up there. 3-year deal for one Davis Alexander, quarterback for the Montreal Alouettes for the future. Just what were your decisions, Eric? I guess what were your thoughts, excuse me, when the decision was made? You mentioned there, of obviously you guys at the flight decks, you and Tim were very high on him from what you guys have seen at training camp practices and stuff like that. It seems like that's been stated a few times through numerous guys around the league that are at TSN or whoever get to see him up close and personal a lot, that they've kind of this is almost the next young and upcoming quarterback in the CFL. So how excited were you guys that you have kind of maybe this guy that you can hopefully lead your franchise for years to come?
Yeah, it's funny. Tim and I have both talked about it on the Alouettes Flight Deck that we didn't anticipate having a quarterback controversy to end the 2024 season, but lo and behold, with the emerging play of Davis Alexander in relief of Cody Fajardo, and then when Cody came back and still looked very good, still looked like still had that warrior mentality, the one that he's going to put the team on his back and carry them into the promised land, but ultimately came up short in the Eastern Final. And now you're left with the decision of, okay, who do you go with? Because you can't have a 1A, 1B situation in this case. Like, you pretty much have to decide who is going to be the leader of this team, who is going to lead this team into 2025 and beyond. And do you go with the Grey Cup warrior who brought this city its first championship in 13 years, or do you go with the young upstart who has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that he can not only play in the Canadian Football League, he can win games in the Canadian Football League? And if you don't keep him, someone else is going to give him that opportunity. So Danny Machocha, he made his decision. He said, okay, I'm going with the youth. I'm going with the guy that I brought in and nurtured and helped develop into the quarterback that you see today. He made the choice. He went with Davis Alexander, and I think he made the right choice. I mean, I've got nothing but love for Cody Fajardo. I respect everything that he has done as a member of the Montreal Alouettes, but you really do have to look at the future. And when you've got someone that's a burgeoning talent like Davis Alexander, and he's proven that he can win in this league, you got to go with that. You got to go with that. And I sincerely hope that Cody Fajardo does stay with the Alouettes. He's going to have to take a pay cut because he's due I think it's a $200,000 bonus in January, and the Alouettes are not going to pay that for their now backup quarterback. Cody's got pride. He's got that, he still has that mentality that he should be a starter in this league. And I agree. I definitely agree he should be. But I sincerely hope he does kind of take a look at the landscape of the Canadian Football League and say to himself, you know what? I really do have a good thing here. Maybe I'm not going to be the man anymore, but I still feel like I'm being treated with respect and given the opportunity to play as much as possible here in Montreal. And that he does take that pay cut. He does stick around and help turn Davis Alexander into that quarterback. And if God forbid something happens to Davis, at least Cody can step in. He knows the offense. He knows how to run things. He knows how to win games, obviously. So he can be that 1B. He may not want to be that 1B, but I think he can definitely do it. And I sincerely hope that Cody does accept, I should say, the idea of having to be Davis Alexander's backup here in Montreal.
Sorry, Cliffy, muted there for a second. Tough thing to do in sports to ask a guy like Cody Fajardo to kind of go to the bench. We'll get to Cody here in a second here, Cliffy, but I'm curious, looking at the contract as you mentioned there about Fajardo's bonus here coming up, Davis Alexander's money. Now it's starter money, but it's not $500K by any means. I believe it was like around $260K in the first year, hard money around $350, and then like it gets up to closer to $400 in hard cash with obviously incentives and stuff like that. Is there any sort of maybe concern or pause? Now, obviously, you're very high on him. You already mentioned that. With experience in kind of the BC Lions fan base, with a lot of people now, I feel like kind of off the bandwagon of Nathan Rourke, where I'm kind of a little bit opposite, where I'm kind of waiting for him to get back in form and kind of not too worried about that aspect, because we've seen what the greatness of Nathan Rourke, where you just said you've seen the greatness and the spots of Davis Alexander at moments where people will kind of claim to Nathan only really had 10 or so games in the CFL. There's still a lot to prove beyond those 10 games, right? Where you look at Davis, a guy that only has the record is great, but only 4 starts, 4 victories in those starts. Is there any sort of cause for concern of maybe giving this guy we'll talk about Cody, but a guy that already got you a Grey Cup, kind of moving him to the side for a younger talent?
There's always cause for concern, but I think with what Davis has shown he's been able to do in a short period of time, but also to just being a part of this organization. Let's not forget, he has technically been here for 3 years. I mean, yes, it's been as a backup or even a third string quarterback, but he knows this system. He knows how this team operates. Like he's been part of it. I mean, he also too is a Grey Cup champion as a result. So I mean, he knows this team in and out. So I have no doubt in my mind that it's not it's not like signing someone off the street, throwing him in there and hoping for the best. He knows this team upside down and in and out. I mean, I feel very confident that he'll be able to step in as a starter and just keep on going. I mean, he's going to take his lumps. He's going to go through periods where he's not going to play his best football. Everybody goes through that. There's no question about that. He's going to have those times, and you're going to be saying to yourself, "Oh my God, what did we make a mistake on this?" But no, the Alouettes did not make a mistake on this. I do feel extremely confident that Davis will live up to the hype, and he will be able to lead this team. And the players on this team too want to play for him. Like you see a big difference, that shift where sorry, I'm getting a bit of an echo.
Oh, sorry, Cliffy.
I don't know if it's me or you, or
I'm not getting on my side, but I don't know. I mean, continue to see if it goes on your side there, Cliffy.
Okay. Oh, I think we're good. Okay, no, I'm getting it.
Apologies, folks, for any technical difficulties if you are hearing any. But yeah, Cliffy, continue if you're all good on your end.
Okay, so yeah, to answer your question, I think Davis will be able to live up to the hype of being the man here in Montreal. I think it's something that he is ready for. He has shown that he's ready for it. And if even just taking a look at his body language during the Eastern Final, I think he looked at that game, and with no disrespect to Cody, I feel like he was looking at that game and saying, I could have done that. I wouldn't have made those mistakes. I would have been able to do it. Like, he's got that mentality of, I'm the man. I have to be the man. I have to show that I can do it. And you give me that opportunity, I will not let you down. And to me, that's good enough for me as far as when it comes to the confidence factor of giving Davis Alexander the keys to the car and saying, off you go.
So we both are going through something very similar. Now, you guys obviously much different with the fact that Cody Fajardo has a Grey Cup under his resume as a starting quarterback. This fan base, my partner included, Blake, obviously, who's not with us right now, but very disappointed, very upset with the decision to move on from Vernon Adams and go with Nathan North. Very similar situations in Montreal. A guy like Cody Fajardo, who won them a Grey Cup in 2023. Who was, I will remind people, up there with Vernon Adams to start the year as MOP, front runners, if you will, there probably through the first month and a half, maybe 6 or 7 weeks of the season before both of them went down to injuries. Were playing, arguably, I know people would argue that Tyson Philpott was probably in that conversation as well, but Cody was putting up terrific numbers, was playing really well, leading Montreal to victories. You mentioned about that bonus, and I guess this is kind of this is going to be probably a multiple answered question here, Cliffy, unfortunately. But maybe we'll start with just kind of your thoughts on Cody as kind of a player and what he's done for the organization, and just your thoughts on kind of the business side of things and how unfortunate that is sometimes.
Well, as they always say, it's a great game, but a lousy business. And I think if Cody Fajardo hadn't realized that in his time in Saskatchewan, at the very least, he's starting to realize it now as a member of the Montreal Alouettes. Yes, he did win a Grey Cup. Everybody loved him. I mean, he was given the opportunity. All he had to do was just come and play his best football. And that's what he did. And again, he put this team on his back. He had that warrior mentality, as I talk about. And, you remember that Grey Cup Eve speech where he's like, F you, just watch, because nobody believed in him. Nobody believed in the Alouettes. Exactly. Like, you talk about like legendary moments in Montreal Alouettes football. I will put that up there with just about anything that you see from this organization. I mean, like, Cody Fajardo definitely willed this team to victory in 2023, and he proved it with that Grey Cup championship. And Alouettes fans loved him for it, without question. I mean, that he was the guy. He was the man. He proved that he could do it, and you loved it. And it kept on going into 2024. There was no doubt going into 2024 that Cody was the man. He was going to be the one that was going to lead this team. But you had Davis Alexander waiting in the wings, and we knew what he was capable of doing. It really was just a matter of unfortunately, it's going to take an injury to Cody for him to be able to get onto the field, and that's exactly what happened. And we got to see what Davis was able to do. And guess what? We had a really good guy in Davis as well, someone who can play this game and play it extremely well. But we kept, even throughout the season, we kept saying, this is still Cody Fajardo's team. I mean, Davis is just keeping the seat warm for Cody. When he comes back, we were convinced he was going to come back and be that same quarterback. He was going to be the consistently consistent Cody that as we like to call him on the flight deck. Like, he's the guy that will come in and he will get it done. Problem is, he wasn't getting it done. I mean, he was still playing hard. He was still playing gutsy football, but at the same time, one has to wonder if maybe he came back from that one injury too quickly. And then when we found out he got hurt doing a quarterback sneak in Ottawa, hurt his ribs there and kept playing. And we didn't think of it at the time, but once you start losing, like that game in Toronto, for example, maybe he shouldn't have playing in that game. Now, mind you, the Alouettes, that's when they found out they had clinched the Eastern Division. And maybe that's probably when they say that they're claiming that they never took their foot off the gas. But I think deep down, you don't necessarily take your foot off the gas, but you're also kind of not going full bore because you don't want to get hurt and you don't want to screw anything up so that you do go to that playoff game and you're able to play your best football. And I think that's where Montreal and Cody Fajardo too kind of took things just a little bit down a touch. And that was the hard part, was because you had Davis Alexander who was ready to go. If Cody was truly hurt, then he should have been off and preparing himself for the playoffs and recuperating. But instead he went out and played against BC, and that was not a great game for the Alouettes at all. I mean, typically the Alouettes do not play very well in BC, but that game was particularly noticeable as far as how bad they played. Now, mind you, this was also 4 days after playing in Thanksgiving as well. So, I mean, there's a ton of factors, and if you want to call them excuses, then so be it. But at the same time, that's the time you need both your quarterbacks to be playing at their absolute best. And I just can't say with certainty that Cody was playing his best football. I mean, he still had the right attitude. He still wanted to show he was the leader, and the team still believed in him. There's no question about that. But if you're not 100%, then whether it's the coaching staff or even you yourself, you got to be able to say, okay, you know what? If I can't go, I know I've got a capable backup who can come in and carry the workload. And one has to wonder, like, if Cody Fajardo was able to do that, let Davis take over as much as possible and play and not risk himself to further injury, we could be looking at a different scenario altogether. Maybe a lot of those things that had happened to end the season for the Alouettes would have ended in a more positive manner. And yes, they did host the Eastern Final. There's no question about that. But one or two things here and there, and we could be talking about Cody Fajardo in a completely different light. I mean, that's kind of what the fascinating thing about how things unfolded for the Montreal Alouettes is yes, you have this young quarterback that's emerging and becoming a leader. And then you have an established veteran who has won this team a Grey Cup and definitely deserves the accolades for it as such. But now it's becoming a bit of a power struggle because both want to be number one. And you can only have one starting quarterback. Someone has to be the backup. And who's it going to be? And ultimately, the team made the decision for them. But now Cody has to decide, okay, do I take my talents elsewhere, or do I stay with an organization that showed me the love, that gave me the opportunity, but now is asking me to take a back seat? That's only Cody can truly answer that. And as I said, personally, I hope Cody does see the value in this request to evolve and turn into another sort of quarterback that he was before. I don't know if he will or not. I sincerely hope he does, but I guess only time's going to tell. I mean, there's a lot of time between now and February when free agency gets underway, or even January when that bonus kicks in. So we'll see what happens. I sincerely hope Cody does stick around, but if he decides no, I really want to go and show my worth, then I wish him all the best and thank him tremendously for everything he's done as a member of the Alouettes.
You have a much better, feel of the fan base right now. If you were to maybe put it in a percentage of the fan base maybe being divided, of like maybe wanting to, keep Cody and continuing to go with him, or maybe excitement for Davis, could you maybe do that, Cliffy, right now? Or
I think there is a lot of excitement for Davis, without question. I mean, it's funny because a lot of these people didn't know who Davis Alexander was, other than he was on the roster. You know him there, but you didn't know what you could do. And again, this is why I always say you have to go to training camp. You have to go to preseason. And even though the games don't count, but this is where if you want to see where the future of your team is, you want to see the extent of your depth of this team, that's where you find it, in training camp. You find it in these preseason games. And every time Davis Alexander's been called upon, he has played outstanding football. I mean, he's got all the tools. He's got everything there. I mean, he's not perfect. Listen, he does make mistakes, as anyone with limited experience is going to do. But that's what I'm saying. Like, don't expect this guy to go 18-0. I mean, he hasn't lost a game yet as a starting quarterback, but it will happen. He's going to take his lumps, as I've said. It's not going to be a perfect transition, but I do feel very confident that he will maintain being a winning quarterback, and he will keep this Montreal team very competitive. I know a lot of fans here, for the most part, appreciate everything Cody has done as a member of the Alouettes. I'm sure a lot of people want Cody to stick around, whether it's backup quarterback or maybe even starting quarterback. But I mean, nobody really wants Cody to leave. Like, they definitely appreciate what he's done for this organization. There's no two ways about it. I hope Cody doesn't feel like he's being shafted as a result of this. It's simply just it's the business of football, unfortunately, is dictating that Davis Alexander is the man right now in Montreal, and Cody isn't. That's the sad reality. Eventually, everybody is hired to be fired, I think is the expression. And right now, Cody's kind of going through it. And as I said, if he feels he can go somewhere else and be a starting quarterback, then I wish him all the best. I truly think, though, that Montrealers, Alouettes fans, Alouettes Nation, they would love to see Cody Fajardo stay here and finish his career in Montreal, as he has talked about wanting to do pretty much from the moment he got here. He's made it clear that I love Montreal. I love this organization. I want to stay here. I want to retire as a Montreal Alouette, and we want him to retire as Montreal Alouette too. It's just that as of this moment right now, it won't be as the starting quarterback, and whether or not he's ready to accept that, again, only time's going to tell. We won't know till at least January, so we'll see.
You die a hero or live long enough to be the villain, pretty much. But it's an unfortunate situation for Cody, and you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't.
And he didn't do anything wrong other than get hurt. And you hate to see someone lose their job due to injury, but at the same time, I mean, if Davis Alexander came in and stunk out the joint, then yeah, everybody would be like, no, Cody, this is Cody. It's all Cody right here. Cody Fajardo, 100%. Unfortunately, Davis came in and showed that, yeah, he can be the leader. He can be the man. He can drive the car. So it's not a great situation for Cody. Like I said, my heart does go out to him because I definitely still feel he can be the man. It's just, unfortunately, at least for the time being, it won't be here in Montreal.
I think the similarities continue to kind of come out as well. Vern Adams kind of lost his job due to injury. And I know how he felt about that, and he felt that type of way and was very honest in the media. And I know obviously VA and Cody Fajardo are two different guys. But the competitor in them, I would imagine Cody's going to feel a type of way, regardless if he tells you something deep down inside. Basically, the Montreal Alouettes are saying we're going with who they think is the better option right now. And in Cody's mind, he's probably like, well, why am I not the better option? Lastly, on Cody here, before we can get off of him, I'm sure a lot of people are still rooting for him to return, as you were just saying. But if he's not interested in that backup position, I feel like probably the best spot for him is Montreal to stay there. The system. Unfortunately, it's in a backup position, but if you look around the CFL, there's no other starting positions open right now. So wherever he goes, he's going to be a backup regardless. So if you were maybe just a guess right now, Cliffy, if he was to go elsewhere other than Montreal, could you just guess for us right now?
I mean,
all for fun too, of course, Cliffy.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of people have speculated, like, could he go back to Saskatchewan? Would he want to go back to Saskatchewan? And part of me is thinking, well, the regime that was there before that basically threw him and Jason Moss out or let them walk, basically, they're not there anymore. So, I mean, that would be interesting. But once again, he'd still be a backup because Trevor Harris, they gave him the vote of confidence. They're keeping him going. But let's not forget, Trevor Harris is not a young man anymore, and Cody is not old by any stretch. But at the same time, they pretty much have said in no uncertain terms that Trevor Harris is the man in Saskatchewan. And I've said it before that, yeah, Trevor Harris is playing decent football, and when he's on, he's on. But I mean, he's suffered some injuries as well, and sooner or later, you're going to start thinking about the future in Saskatchewan. And could it be Cody Fajardo? Could it be, is there a young quarterback, kind of like a Davis Alexander, that's out there that can come in and, if given the proper training and seasoning, can be like that for the Saskatchewan Roughriders? It's very possible, but essentially, you're going to be back to being a backup, which is what you are right now in Montreal, in no uncertain terms. But if you go to Saskatchewan, ultimately, unless Trevor Harris gets hurt the first day of training camp, you're back to being a backup in Saskatchewan, a place where you have been the starter, you have won, and you came very close to bringing this team to the Grey Cup. Cody has said he's not completely opposed to that scenario out in Saskatchewan, but how serious is this about that? Again, only time will tell. A lot of people were thinking, well, if Edmonton doesn't get their quarterback situation figured out, maybe he could be the starter there. But lo and behold, Trey Ford is given the stamp of approval by their new regime, and they've made it clear that we think Trey Ford can be the man here. And once again, if you go to Edmonton, you're going to be the backup, and you're going to have to hope for an injury to the starter. I mean, and that's essentially where it is now. So, as I said, I think Cody Fajardo is going to have to take a look at the CFL landscape as a whole, and he'll come to the realization that there truly isn't any undisputed, or there's no disputed starting position in anywhere in this league. So I mean, no matter where you go, more than likely you're just going to end up as a backup. So why not stay in Montreal, where you are loved, where you are appreciated, where you have the opportunity to be that mentor for Davis Alexander, to help him. And if God forbid something does happen to him injury-wise, you can step in and run this team like you've done before and done extremely well at. So all this comes down to, is it going to be better for Cody if he leaves? Or is he better off, taking that pay cut, staying with the devil you know versus the devil you don't know? There's also that to consider as well for Cody. So I mean, ultimately, it's his decision, and Danny Machocha has even gone so far as to say if there is a situation pops up where that would be better for him, that would give him that opportunity, we will work with him for it, which I think is absolutely tremendous. But I think ultimately, maybe, just maybe, Cody sees the value in this new potential situation for him, the possibility that could come from it, and I really hope he does stay here in Montreal.
Yes, time will tell, Cliffy. So, last few questions here, Cliffy, before we get you out of here. Let's bring up the few free agents that are on the Montreal Alouettes here, Cliffy. I know you guys have been a little busy signing a few guys. I believe Isaac Ademi-Berglund re-signed, Joseph Zima, punter, Wesley Sutton, I believe. There's, I believe, Najee Murray, I think, re-signed as well.
Correct.
There was a few guys in there as I quickly share the screen here, Cliffy. Let me make this a little bigger. List of free agents on the Montreal Alouettes this upcoming off season, Cliffy. I don't know if you can see that okay. Hopefully you can. Yep. If you were to maybe just put, or maybe just mention a few of these names, maybe that are just some priority names for yourself on, oh, sorry, I don't want to go too fast for you here, Cliffy. A few names that are maybe priority free agents that you think are needed to be signed back. There's definitely some names on here with Kavion Ento. There's I know Joseph Zima signed, but Katoy as well. KGG, Keon Julian Grant. Is there any sort of names that are maybe jumping off the page here for you, Cliffy, in terms of like priority that need to be signed back in free agency for you, or just a few names that you'd like to maybe mention?
Well, the one name that I had said after the Eastern Final that has to be priority number one for the Alouettes, besides Davis Alexander, of course, getting that situation sorted out, is Wesley Sutton. And I'm thrilled that he's signed a 2-year extension and is going to be staying put in Montreal because, as far as I'm concerned, he's become one of the defensive leaders of this team, plays outstanding football, and I'm beyond thrilled that he's staying put. So that was a move that had to be made, and I'm very thankful that he didn't get a chance to test free agency. Again, you talk about seeing the value in a player. Danny Machocha clearly does see the value in Wesley Sutton, and I'm very satisfied with that move. Taking a look at the list that's in front of us, without question, I think Kabian Ento and Reggie Stubblefield now become those priority signings. Reggie Stubblefield, let's not forget, tore his ACL in the first game against Winnipeg. He's been rehabbing like crazy. He's been working hard to get back onto the field. He was still coming into Alouettes games and still cheering on his teammates. Still very much a part of this team, and I sincerely hope that the Alouettes do keep him. I mean, he may have to take a bit of a pay cut because after that outstanding rookie season where he helped this team win the Grey Cup, I think he was all set to prove that it wasn't a fluke again, kind of like Cody before him. But unfortunately, the ACL injury killed his season, and it may still affect him going into 2025 rookie training camp. So I hope the Alouettes do sign him. He may have to, again, sign a team-friendly deal, i.e. maybe not get paid as much as what he feels he should be worth. But I know one thing, this Alouettes team is very good about certain players that are hurt in re-upping them and letting them continue their rehab, like Reggie White Jr., for example. Same thing happened to him. He suffered a horrific injury in 2022, basically missed all of 2023, was on the team still, trying to rehab, trying to get himself back, and he just couldn't quite get on the field in 2023. But in 2024, he came back and he played outstanding football. So I think they're hoping that the same thing can happen with Reggie Stubblefield, and hopefully if Reggie agrees and signs that deal, just to prove that he can get back on and be the outstanding player that he was. Kabian Ento, without question, he too has come into form. Like Wesley Sutton has become one of the stalwarts on this defense. And I think right now getting him under contract is now priority number one as far as I'm concerned. That's a name without question. If you don't sign him, somebody else will. That pretty much, if people know that Kabian Ento playing outstanding work at corner for this Alouettes defense, if they know that his services are available, they will be going after him. So I sincerely hope now that Davis Alexander is settled, now that Wesley Sutton is settled, you got to go after him. On offense, I think Walter Fletcher is the priority number one as well. I mean, he had an absolutely phenomenal season. Ever since he came to Montreal, he has played outstanding football. Was given the chance to be running back number one with William Stanback going to the BC Lions in free agency last season. It gave him the keys to the car, and he played tremendous football. Funny, though, is he became very much a two-way player in the sense that as much as they lean on him for running back, he was also proven to be a very capable receiver as well. I mean, I jokingly called him Captain Checkdown because it seemed like that was Cody's safety valve or Davis's safety valve. If you make your reads and you don't see what you like, go to Fletch because he'll take the ball and he'll get you that first down and then some. That's just what he does extremely well. And I would absolutely love for him to come back, still be the running back number one on this team, knowing full well that, okay, if you don't want to hand him the rock, at least you can throw it to him and he will still get those yards. I mean, he's a tremendous two-way player in that sense, and I definitely want to see him back in Montreal as well. They've already signed Sean Thomas Erlington as running back as well, and I know that they're going to be bringing back Tanner Nelms, who is a fantastic running back in his youth sports career. So there's going to be some competition in the running back position, which is absolutely phenomenal. But I still think you got to bring Fletch back. There's no question about it. I mean, he loves this team. He loves the city as well. And it's just be a matter of getting the dollars right. And if that's the case, I feel confident that Danny Machocha will get that done. And to me, that's priority on offense right there.
Yes, well said, Cliffy. I know there's been a little bit of tampering on our offseason primer as we've gone through the many episodes here with some guys in Calgary and Edmonton clamoring to get their hands on Justin McInnis, William Stanback, obviously for our current BC Lion free agents. I won't hate it if Kabian Ento wants to come out west and maybe wear the orange and black. I know people in Montreal are wanting to keep on to him, but I think that secondary in BC needs a big-time makeover there. But, Cliffy, we're talking Montreal Alouettes tonight. My last few questions here for you, more of kind of a directional question here for you, for the team here going forward. Mm-hmm. Now, it's December 13th. We're going to go through, some of these guys are going to get re-signed. We're going to go into a free agent period. The CFL draft will be coming. And then, obviously, there's going to be new players that are coming to the CFL for the first time this year. This team will might look a little differently come June. But what do you think is the overall direction of this team kind of moving forward? It feels like, there's the confidence is still as high as it's ever been here, that a lot of this core is still here and intact. And some of the core that was free agents, they've already started to bring back, the Wesley Suttons, some of these guys, Reggie Stubblesfield's maybe another guy. But you look at the defense, a lot of those guys are already back. Isaac Ademi-Berglund, I just mentioned him, Tyrese Beverette, Duquois in the secondary. The defense will probably, be the tip of the spear maybe once again for this team. But offensively, Tyson Philpott should be healthy again next year. Keon Julian Grant, hopefully he's brought back. Cole Speaker was signed during the regular season. As you mentioned, hopefully William Fletcher's brought back, and Davis Alexander's kind of your star on offense to lead that side. How confident are you guys kind of going forward, in Montreal there, that this is going to be a good team for, many years to come still?
That was the goal of Danny Machocha, was to build a championship roster, and he did it. I mean, it took him 3 years to really shape this team in his image, and as far as I'm concerned, he's done an outstanding job, to the point where whatever move he makes, I'm for it. He's won that confidence, and it's absolutely fantastic to see. Like, there's no question in my mind, he knows what it takes to build a winner. And as I said, the players that we've mentioned, I sincerely hope he does bring them back, because I think that they are truly the keys to helping this team get back to and winning another Grey Cup. But it's like anything else, some players are going to test free agency. They're going to see maybe if the grass is greener on the other side. And I get that. And also too, other players are going to want to come in. Like, Montreal has become a destination. Like, a lot I think a lot of people see what Montreal's been able to do over the past couple of years and like, yeah, I want to be here. I mean, Isaac Adeyemi-Berglund is a great example of that. I was excited when they signed him because he was playing outstanding football in Calgary. And then when he came here, it was like he was extra motivated to like, he saw what the Alouettes were able to do and he wanted to be a part of that. Like this defensive line is a constant work in progress, but Isaac has just been a phenomenal player. And you saw it with him being nominated as most outstanding Canadian. I mean, if Tyson Philpott didn't get hurt, there's no question in my mind he would have been the Alouettes nominee and even the Eastern nominee in a runaway match. But Isaac came in and he's just been absolutely outstanding. And I am beyond thrilled that he's sticking around even longer, like signing that extension, even though he was already under contract in 2025, for him to add another year onto that. That tells me, one, he absolutely loves it here in Montreal. And two, this team believes in him, that they think that he can be a centerpiece, so to speak, like one of those cornerstones that you build this defense around. And I am all for that. So I absolutely feel confident in whatever decisions that Danny Maciocia makes as far as whether it's re-signing players or bringing new players into the fold. Like he could tell me that I'm bringing so-and-so, great move. I'm drafting so-and-so, great move. I mean, at this point, he has definitely won my confidence. I have no doubt in my mind that whatever move he makes is going to be the best one for this team going forward. And, as much and all we like certain players and all that, sometimes they move on. Sometimes it's their own choice as well. So, I mean, the players that we mentioned, I hope want to stay in Montreal and want to be a part of something special here. But ultimately, sometimes you may look elsewhere and say, maybe I'm not happy with my spot here. I've got a good spot, but maybe I can get a better spot elsewhere. Maybe you can, but that's football in general. But I feel confident that the players that we mentioned, those are the ones that I'm hoping will come back, will be a part of this team. And anyone that wants to join this party is definitely welcome to as well. And I feel confident that whatever move Danny Maciocia makes to better this team will be the right one.
Sorry, Cliff, you muted once again. It is full speed ahead in Montreal as they are. I feel like that snowball is pushed down the hill. They have a ton of confidence within that organization, and I know we were going through the weekly picks here this year, and it was almost at the point where we're going to pick Montreal until they prove us wrong at a point. And I think it's still the same kind of thing going into next year. Maybe it's a different conversation of maybe their conference division to lose now with Toronto, kind of obviously the reigning undisputed champions, but I would imagine they're going to be toe-to-toe with Toronto next year and trying to, win the East and trying to be the representative in the Grey Cup once again. But Cliffy, thank you as always for coming on, talking some CFL, talking some Montreal Alouettes. Before we get you out of here, let the people know. I know you guys actually just recorded your season in review, your final show of 2024. You guys will be taking a little bit of a break now into 2025, but let the people know where they can find your guys' show, find your guys' merch, and find you guys on social media.
All right. Well, yes, absolutely. We just recorded our season finale. Absolutely. So make sure you go check that out over at www.alouettesflightdeck.ca. You can find us on all the major podcatchers, on YouTube as well at Alouettes Flight Deck. And yeah, we're very excited. It's kind of bittersweet because yes, now that the season's over, like it really has hit home that dang, no more CFL until next year. But next year we are so excited. It's going to be our 10th broadcast season, and we want to thank you. Yeah, we're very excited about that, and we've got some big projects that we are hopefully going to make happen in 2025. And again, hopefully this team is going to be ready to go as well. By all means, folks, if you haven't already, we definitely appreciate your support. Head on over, as I said, to YouTube, wherever you find the podcast. Just look for Alouettes Flight Deck. You can follow us on X at Alouettes FL Deck. We're also on Blue Sky as well, Alouettes FL Deck. Instagram, Facebook. We're not that hard to find. And even though we're kind of dialing things down just a little bit until the new year, once free agency gets underway, though, we'll be back at it because we want to see what moves the Alouettes are going to make, who's going to stick around, who's going to unfortunately leave the nest, and who's coming into the nest too. I mean, that's going to be exciting as well. Going into the draft and then training camp back in St. Jerome in May, man, as I said, like this is a tough time right now because we're going to find out the schedule soon, and we're going to find out what's going on. And that's just going to stoke the fire even more. Like, oh my God, now is it June yet? Is it May yet? Because that's when training camp really does get underway, is in May. But yeah, we're definitely excited. And with this being our 10th broadcast season, we want to go full bore. We want to keep innovating and bringing exciting content to the listeners and the viewers as well. So, I mean, hopefully you'll come by, subscribe, follow us, and come along for the ride, if you will. So, yeah, we're definitely looking forward to 2025. We're definitely looking forward to the Alouettes making some moves and just getting everybody excited and hyped again for Canadian football.
Yes, well said, Cliffy. Well, while you're here, I might as well give you your guys flowers because you guys deserve it. Year 10 is super cool. Number one, it'll be Blake and I's year number one here after the Super Bowl of finally doing something. But both I pretty confidently can speak for Blake that I know we look up to both you and Tim for kind of how you guys run your show and everything that you guys want to do in terms of coverage and content wise. And you guys do a really good job of kind of covering all your bases all year round. And you guys make a phenomenal product there at the Alouettes Flight Deck, and I enjoy listening when I can, and obviously kind of sneaking you guys into the weekly kind of podcast rotation, and get my Alouettes news and kind of here and there. But Cliffy, like I said, you guys are doing a good job, man, and continue. You guys are enjoying a nice holiday break here, and I know you guys will be back in 2025, Cliffy. But if you guys enjoyed today's Alouettes off-season primer with Cliffy Pine, first of all, go check them out. Over on social media, go check out their channel as well, and of course, like, comment, subscribe to both of our channels. Blake and I have a thing here: we like, comment, smash the subscribe button, Cliffy. So you guys can do that over on the Alouette Flight Deck's YouTube channel. That'd be greatly appreciated as well. Cliffy,
100%.
That'll do it for an off-season primer, and we will see you guys on the next one.
All right. Well, once again, thanks again for having me, and you guys keep doing what you're doing as well, because I tell you, there's nothing like it. I mean, this is year one for you guys. Just wait till year 2, 3, 4, 5. As it keeps growing, you're going to find it gets better and better. And I'm still having a blast doing it. And I know you guys are going to keep killing it as well. So best of luck to you. Best of luck to all your listeners and viewers as well. And yeah, folks, definitely subscribe. Hit that, like you said, smash that like button. Absolutely.
My man, Cliffy. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll see you guys in the next one.